Hey guys, welcome to another theory of computation tutorial. Now we'll look at E-NFA to NFA conversion. So let's get started. Okay, so suppose we are given this E-NFA and we have to convert it to an NFA, that is non-deterministic finite automata. How do we do this? So there is something called as epsilon closure. Okay, so let's look at it. So this is the symbol for epsilon closure. Okay, and what we have to do is we have to convert this E-NFA to NFA by getting epsilon closure first of this E-NFA, then checking what is the input status for that, and then again finding the epsilon closure for the input. Okay, so basically the table is going to look like this. We have got alright, what we'll do is we'll just draw the table for our transition table for NFA. Transition table for NFA. Okay, so in NFA we only have two inputs, right? 0 and 1, 0 and 1, and we have got three states. Starting state A, then we have got B, and we have got C. Okay, now so let's say for starting state A, what happens? You are in starting state A, you get epsilon closures. And what does the meaning of epsilon closure? All the states that you can reach from A by getting epsilon, that is no input. So from A, if you get no input, you can still reach state A. You can go to state B also, and in state B, if you get nothing, you can go to state E, as we have seen over here. Okay, so you can go from state A to A, B, C by getting epsilon, that is no input. So we'll write it like this: A, B, C. Okay, now over here in for starting state A, if you get input 0, okay, so let's say you're in state A and you get input 0, where do you go? You don't go anywhere, you're not mention anything, right? So let's just write 5. Okay, and in state B, what happens if you get 0? You go to state B if you get input 0, correct? And in state C, if you get input 0, you go to state C. All right, now over here, so this is for input 0, okay. Again over here we have to check the epsilon, that is now for 5 it is nothing, so you don't have to write anything because it is an empty state. And in state B, if you get epsilon, that is no input, you can still reach state B and state C. So let's write that down. We have got B and C. And over here in state C, if you get nothing, you can reach state C itself. Okay, so let's write that down. On getting input 0, you can go to state C itself, correct? Yeah. All right. Now, yeah. So if you're in state C, you get no input, you go to state C. Now, if you make a set of all these states, we get B, C, C, that is B, C. So let's write it B, C over here. All right, now let's just change the color. Let's test it out for 1. Okay, so this was for input 0. Now we'll check it out for input 1. Okay, in state A itself. Okay, so again you have got same epsilon closure, input, and epsilon closure again. So let's say you're in state A, you get input 1, you go to state A itself, correct? But first you have to check the epsilon closure for that, right? So we have got again ABC, that is when you get no input, you still go to ABC. ABC, yeah, first we check that. Okay, in state A, if you get input 1 now, you have to check for input now. If you get 1, you go to state A itself. Okay, in state B, if you get 1, you go to 5, that is empty state. And in state C, if you get 1, you go to state C itself. So you go to state C. Okay, now over here you have to check epsilon closure for A and C now. So in A, if you get what you say epsilon, that is no input, you can go from state A to state A itself. Then you can go to state B also and state C also. We'll write that down. So A, B, C. Over here you don't have to write anything. And in state C, if you get nothing, you can go to state C itself. Okay, so state C. Now if you make a set of this, union of all this, you get A comma B comma C. So let's write that down, A comma B comma C. All right, now similarly we have to check for state B. So let's do it for state B now. State B, input 0 and epsilon closure, input and epsilon closure. Okay, so we are in state B. Okay, you are in state B. You get epsilon over here. Where do you go? You go to state B and state C. So let's write that down, state B and state C. Okay, now over here in state B, if you get input 0, where do you go? You go to state B itself. You go to state B itself. And in state C, if you get 0, you go to state C itself. Okay, now what is the epsilon for state B? You can go from state B to state B and state B to state C. So let's write that down, B comma C. And in state C, you go to state C itself when you get no input. So let's write that. Now you make a union of this, B comma C, you get B comma C. Correct? All right. Now you check it out for input 1. Let's just change the color now. Let's make it green. Yeah. So now for input B and epsilon closure, input, again epsilon closure, you get, you're in state C, let's say, and in state C, state B, input 1, where do you go? First thing you have to write is the epsilon closure for state B. If you get epsilon, that is no input, you go to state B and state C. So let's write that down, B and C. In state B, if you get input 1, okay, so input 1 if you get, you go to 5, and if you're in state C, if you get input 1, you go to state C itself. Okay, now over here in state C, if you get again epsilon, where do you go? You go to state C itself. So we'll write it as state C. All right, now in state C, what happens? That is the final. If you get input 0, you have to check it out for that, epsilon closure, then got input 0 and epsilon closure again. Okay, so over here in state C, what happens? So over here, if you get epsilon, that is no input, you go to state C itself. Okay, and if you get input 0 or 1, we'll check it out for 0 now. If you get input 0, where do you go? You go to state C. Again over here, you get epsilon, you go to state C itself. And same thing applies for 1 also. If you get input 1 also, you are going to reach state C itself, where the epsilon is going to be 1 only. So we'll write it C comma C. Okay, so this is how we convert an E-NFA to its equivalent NFA. So this is the transition for NFA. Now you can just draw the transition table from this. You can draw the transition diagram from this transition table. I hope you got this concept. If you have any queries, feel free to ask me in the comment section below. If you didn't understand, I'll try to make a much better video with next example. So thank you very much.